Oh, God. What's this country? At first, yeah.
Okay, the screen looked weird there for a second, but it seems to have resolved itself. We are go for launch.
Great. Good evening and welcome to the February 22nd, 2023 Henrietta Town Board meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek,
Here.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Here.
Councilmember Page,
Here.
Councilmember Belanca,
Here.
Supervisor Schultz.
Here. We'll begin the meeting with a silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the February 8th, 2023 meeting.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Actually, I have one because I don't know that I ever sent my email, so it's probably still in my drafts in case it wasn't caught. Hold on one second. I kind of got quite busy. 1 second. So on the middle of page 4, there is an extra word "is" in there. It says, so the uses there is tend to be the ones that put less traffic on the road. So if you strike the word "is," it would say, so the uses there tend to be the ones that put less traffic on the road. That was the only correction I had by the time I'd gotten probably about 80% of the way through. So I don't know the procedure because typically we do the corrections up front and have the draft. Becky, do we then call for propose to make that change to the draft or? Okay, so I will just make a motion that we amend the minutes to strike the word "is" from that sentence in the middle of page 4.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll on the amendment.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. So we're now voting on the draft minutes as just amended. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Thank you. First up, we have special use permit application number 2023-001 Rivian LLC at 65 Becker Road to operate a Rivian electric vehicle auto service facility and specialty motor vehicle sales location. So we'll start the public hearing. I'll just note that this was originally delayed because there was some confusion and we wanted to make sure people had adequate notification. So go ahead, introduce yourself,
Right.
your relationship to the project, and give us a brief overview.
Good evening. Nice to see everyone. My name is Betsy Brugg. I'm an attorney and I'm representing this project. Michael Trojan is here for the property owner. Somewhere out in the universe out there, we have some representatives from Rivian, also available if there are any questions. Me, Ray Lee, Design Manager, and Angie Prowse are also available if there are any questions. We did submit a complete application. We've addressed the special permit standards that the board needs to consider. The proposal here is for Rivian to occupy approximately 20,000 square feet of a brand new vacant building way in the back, tucked back there in Erie Station Business Park, right behind DDS, over near FedEx. So it's a kind of a vehicle intense neighborhood. This is primarily a service center. Rivian manufactures electric trucks with no emissions. So that's their product. They do sell to consumers. They sell commercial delivery vans. This location is extremely important to them. They are doing a rollout of electric delivery trucks for a certain very large retailer, online retailer. And this is an important location for them. I believe their closest locations are in Brooklyn.
Yes.
And I think out of state. So this is going to be kind of the regional launch and rollout for that program. So we will see more of those electric delivery trucks on the road. So it's primarily a service center. However, our application does also include specialty motor vehicle sales. Rivian sells its trucks online, and they are electric vehicles that, you know, most of the maintenance is software upgrades done at home. However, customers will make their purchase online and they will be able to pick up vehicles at the site. It's not a huge number of vehicles that would be picked up there. And I guess technically under the town's requirements, because it is part of the transaction, and I believe
It's actually not the town requirements. It's
it's a
New York State
dealership issue.
DMV.
Yeah,
If you pick up, so essentially if the transfer of title occurs, it's where it's picked up.
right.
If it occurs on the location, it's considered sales activities. Since it's therefore considered a sales activity, but it's a limited or specialty auto. So then it can be outside what I refer to as dealership row, as long as there are conditions placed that limit the potential impact.
Right.
So
So yes, I guess technically because it requires a dealership license, this is considered part of a sale type use.
Yep.
There is no showroom. They don't keep vehicles on site. You know, people will not be able to walk in off the street to look at a car, to test drive a car, anything like that. There are no demos and no showroom at this time. You know, that is a limited part of the operation, but it does require a special use permit. So that is part of our application. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have. I can go through the special use permit standards if you want
Well-
to hear it. I'm always glad to do it.
So I'll just start off by saying, as discussed at the workshop, the plan, my plan is to place the following conditions on a motion that I'd put forward. If someone wants to add them or put forth a different motion, that's fine. But the conditions I would put on is that there is no sales showroom. There's a maximum of 3 demo/dealer vehicles on the premises. I know currently you're going to have 0, but just in case that ever changes, you wouldn't have to
Yep.
come back here. That the sales that occur on site, so this doesn't count the ones that if, you know, to that smiley
Mhm.
customer. It is 180 vehicles per year, so that's roughly 15 a month, but I'd rather do it in aggregate because it's probably going to be some seasonality to that. We don't typically put this on as a condition on a special use permit because again, under Department of Motor Vehicle laws, you have to get a dealership license, but I know you're going to do that. So, but just those other 3 are what I'd consider putting on it. If you ever get to the point where you're starting to get over those numbers, you either have to come back in for an update for a special use permit, or they'll have to find a location over on Dealership Row. Because if it ever moves out of that specialty category and into more general sales, you know, where there are showrooms or larger fleet on site or a lot more vehicle sales per year, then it needs to go to Dealership Row. So those are my comments. Open it up to the board.
My comment is the fire marshal okay with storing vehicles inside? Have you discussed that with him?
We received the comments from the staff. Thank you for those, and we will address them. We're okay with them.
So would it be conditional upon the fire marshal's approval or just,
I don't know if the special use permit would be conditioned on that or as much as the certificate of occupancy.
okay, thank you.
Is that correct? Typically, I mean, that's
This has to do with the. What is exactly? I don't.
The issue was, he was concerned about the frequency of the lithium batteries self-combusting and being a threat probably to the health and safety of the employees inside.
So this is Angie Prouse from Rivian speaking. Anytime we go into a new building, we do a thorough due diligence report and also understand what any jurisdictional or code requirements that might be unique for that area would be. And we'd work closely with the building department and planning teams, including the fire department, to ensure that we build and modify the building to address any of those concerns.
so like I said, it gets into the building and fire code. So I didn't know if that's really special
Yeah.
use permit or if that's really,
I think you could get at it from either or both angles, because I don't have I can pull up the factors, but I'm pretty sure the factors of our special permit, our special
the
permit factors.
hazardous.
We'll go on the record. We agree to work with the fire marshal to address any concerns.
So we'll make it conditional on that.
Just out of curiosity, do you have any data or statistics on that issue at other locations?
In terms of what specifically?
Your EV battery storage spontaneously combusting?
So no, we do not have any data on that in terms of any actual incidents that have happened. In terms of replacing or repairing batteries, we do not repair on site. They are only swapped out from vehicles if and only if that is a necessary part of the service. So we are not actually handling any interior components of the battery itself. Those are shipped out to what we call our parts distribution and our reman centers that handle any sort of remanufacturing or just adjusting of the batteries. That does not take place at these service locations.
Understood.
So yeah, supervisor, just to be clear, I pulled it up. 295-54E is one of the factors. It says whether the proposed use will create material hazards or dangers to the public, including relative to explosion, et cetera. So I think it's an appropriate condition if the
Sure.
board is concerned about that.
In having been involved in one of the lithium batteries that did short circuit, this was years and years ago when they were first coming on the scene. They typically don't explode. They do send massive sparks. They do generate a lot of heat, and they put out lithium dioxide. So again, from a ventilation standpoint, it should have good ventilation in case that should ever occur. Typically, they don't, from my understanding of it, is they don't typically spontaneously combust. Usually what those are is there are systems that have been designed that have a constant draw and or especially if they create a short circuit, that's almost always what causes the batteries to go up. So safe handling plays a huge factor in that, as well as good design. As somebody who's had vehicles with those batteries for over a decade now, I've had zero issues with them. But like I said, what you typically find with some of so like most phones have lithium batteries, right? It was only certain models of phones that were having the spontaneous combustion issue. Again, it's not it can be a bad batch of batteries. It's more common that it's a bad design that allows that short circuit and overheating to occur.
Right, which is why I was asking about the other issues that may have occurred in other locations.
So it sounds like, so have you not had any recorded that you're aware of?
Not at our service locations, no, not that I've been informed of.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yeah, and to add to that, so all of our service centers meet local and national code requirements for life safety provision, specifically for sprinkler protection and things of that nature. So we also have an internal, what we call EH&S, Environmental Health and Safety Team, that is heavily involved in all of our projects as well. So, and that's to ensure that we're complying with local code and requirements.
Although the one thing I will point out is with lithium, the last thing you want to do is put water on them.
Of course.
RIT right near here has a lithium battery development center, and they have a dry room, which if you've never been in one, it's absolutely bizarre. You're only allowed to have 2 or 3 people in the room at a time because we put out so much moisture in the air. But you walk in there and all the moisture is sucked out of your mouth and nose, and it's your eyes get. I would hate to be in there with contacts. But because even just humidity in the air can react with raw lithium. So it is a dangerous subject or substance, but like I said, in a controlled, properly built and properly designed system, you know, obviously they've been around for a long time. NTID would have a lot of problems without lithium ion batteries since they power many hearing aids. So
I always learn something new when I come to Henrietta. That's fascinating.
that's what happens when you have an engineer as a town supervisor.
All right, now I got to
guess.
get invited to a dry room.
That's right.
Dying of
You
curiosity.
should it is bizarre. It is worth the tour. So. Any other questions from the town board? Is there anybody from the public who would like to speak on this subject? You can stay there because typically don't make you move till someone raises their hand. Is there anyone online? Okay, then hearing no further comment, I'm going to close the public hearing for special use permit application number 2023-001 Rivian LLC.
Thank you.
And we did not have a separate written run, right? So this is going to be an on-fly. Okay. Fellow board members, I make a motion to approve special use permit application number 2023-001 Rivian LLC, 65 Becker Road, to operate a Rivian electric vehicle auto service facility and specialty motor vehicle sales location with the following conditions. The site shall include no showroom. The site shall include a maximum of 3 demo/dealer vehicles. The site shall have a maximum of 180 vehicles sold on premises per year. And the site developers shall work with the fire marshal to ensure safe operation, especially with respect to lithium batteries.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
If Rivian, we have a Henrietta Chamber of Commerce, if you wish to be introduced for ribbon cutting, anything like that, let me just, you can send something to supervisor@henrietta.org or Donar will coordinate that.
Absolutely, yes, we'll have our communications team be in touch.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have special use permit application number 2023-005 RO Communications Incorporated, 46 Erie Station Road, to store materials and equipment for a fiber optic splicing installation company. Representatives, please come forward, state your names and relationship to the project.
How's it going? I'm Rex Okor. I'm the owner of RO Communications.
Jonathan Zelinski, representing Easy Solutions.
Great. Could you give us a little overview of what you're looking to do?
Yeah, so I'm in the process of purchasing the property. I have a fiber optic splicing company. I actually do a lot of work for Greenlight. Actually, going to be doing all the splicing across the street here in the next week or so. Just looking for a place to pretty much use it as it currently has been used as storage. What's there right now is pretty adequate for what I have. But I do look to build a building in the future there and kind of expand my business, but not something large. We don't do anything at our site. Most of my guys take their trucks home, so there's not very many vehicles on site or a lot of traffic coming through. My guys generally once a week pick up materials, and then they're kind of out doing their own thing all week. So
Yeah,
not a lot of traffic.
sure. In terms of the traffic on that road, it is a state road. The only issue is sight lines coming in and out. You just have to be careful because people fly around that curve. For those who don't know, it's near the service station on Erie Station Road near the throughway stop. That building that's there currently, is that just like, it looks like it might have at one time held telecom?
So I believe the story was it was going to, and it was
Gotcha.
built and never used for that. So there's no major communications, I think, brought into there. So they're just set up for what they are, which storage.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious because it looks like it's like an what do you call it? A mobile home.
Yeah, they're like, I think they're 10 by 16 concrete pods. I think they're quite expensive.
Oh,
when
is
they
that
put
what it
them
is?
in.
They were pods?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're all concrete. Yeah.
Yeah, it had the look of a temporary, or something that was manufactured and just brought into place.
Yeah, that's what they are for
Yep.
sure.
Right. And so you're just going to use those essentially for storage and then maybe someday later build something?
So though, like I said, my current space that I rent is about adequate size of what those combined would be. And I only use a very small portion of it for my stock. But sooner than later, I would like to start the process for building a building. I'm at that point in my business where I need
Great.
more things, and that's kind of what launched me to look for this property in the first place.
Well, congratulations on the growth.
Thank you.
Obviously, when you get ready to look at doing a building, you'll need to come in for site plan approval and
For sure.
such, but
Is this area currently zoned industrial?
it's planned, yeah, so it's part of the Riverton Plan Unit Development, which does allow for mixed use, including industrial.
Okay.
It's not supposed to be heavy industrial, but this isn't really heavy industrial. It's because again, they're not doing what I'll call heavy manufacturing on the location. They're
right,
just
right.
it's supply and it's
And after you finish building, are you intending on using it for the similar purposes that you're using the site for now?
Yeah, it just storage and having just kind of like a home base. Just
Okay.
like I said, what's there now works for me now,
Mhm.
but yes, I would
You're
need more.
anticipating. Mhm.
Yeah. As I grow, and I'd like to store more things inside, not have things outside in the yard as much if it's not a trailer or something like that. So
Sure. So, all right, out of personal curiosity, what do you do as you're splicing fiber optic cables?
yeah, so like one of the companies we work for is Greenlight, which they're
Mhm.
heavily building in the Henrietta area. So my company does splicing, which means basically other companies run all the cables and we put the boxes up that'll feed the houses.
Oh, okay.
So we're like kind of the end of everything. We turn it on and kind of get the installs going. My company also does installs for Greenlight. So we kind of the very end of the line to get everybody service.
Okay, fantastic. Great.
other questions from the board?
I'm all set.
Any questions from the public? Anyone online? Then hearing none, I am going to close I'm going to close the public hearing for special use permit application number 2023-005 RO Communications. Does anyone wish to put forth a motion?
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to put forth a motion to approve special permit application number 2023-005 RO Communications Incorporated, 46 Erie Station Road, to store materials and equipment for a fiber optic splicing and installation company.
Second.
So I assume you've also been in touch with, trying to remember what his property is. So it's Bernie Iacovangelo, trying a blank. Faber, thank you. I was trying a blank on that. Although I think it's, Forest Creek Equity. Yeah. So Faber is the homes. The other one is the developer, but they're doing the area around there. Have you been in touch with?
No, I have not.
Okay, you might want to reach out to Forest Creek, or like I said, Bernie Iacovangelo. If you don't have his contact information, contact me at
Okay.
supervisor@henrietta.org. I'll put you in touch with him. They are developing what's called Parcel A, so it's immediately to the south of you. Although they're working on the far side, so it's going to be some time before they're closer to your, but you'll start to see. I think they're just applying or have just applied for their clearing permit to start, or field permit to start, grading permit, whatever it's called, to start doing the work in preparation for the development. It's going to be a bunch of homes, but you know, your properties, like I said, there's like 3 or 4 little parcels right there that essentially predate that project, but it would just be good so you are aware of his schedule, and that way, if there's anything that might impact your operation, that he can give you a heads up
For
that
sure.
it's coming. So, any other questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Congratulations. You know, if you get to that stage where you're looking to open a new place, and again, you want to do a ribbon cutting, or if earlier on you want to do a groundbreak or anything, just let me know. I can put you in touch with the chamber. They have all the stuff to do all that. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
And also, the attorneys were asking if we could get something, if there's something we can get in writing,
You will,
we'll be ready sometime.
typically tomorrow, depending on how many people come to the clerk's office. So, if you have an email attached to this application, I presume.
Yeah, both of
Yes.
us, yeah.
So they typically email it out and then later send it a hard copy, but that way you can get the electronic copy tomorrow. Yep.
Like this for to reach the attorney.
Yep. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have special use permit application number 2022-051 East Henrietta Apartments by AR Building Company, 2160 East Henrietta Road, to construct 2 4-story apartment buildings for a total of 102 units. Those developers are not here because they have postponed. We had given them a list of issues that we wanted responses for, including things we identified in seeker that needed mitigation. We did not feel that they had, I should say I said that I did not feel they adequately responded to the water one, or to the drainage one especially, and that I would not be able to approve the seeker, which would have meant a positive declaration. Later, talking at the workshop, the rest of the town board agrees, or sounded like they all agreed. Again, I can't speak for them, but there were some serious issues on the potential impacts for the neighborhood. So unless they can come up with a way to better resolve those issues, they have postponed for this evening. I have not, Becky, have we heard any communication as to when they expect to be back on?
Not to my knowledge, no.
So then I will not, we'll close this session. We won't reschedule until we hear back from them with some plans that indicate that they've got some solution. With that said, if there is anybody here tonight who wishes to offer opinions on this application, the hearing is open and you are free to offer opinion, or you can wait till they come back with updated plans, assuming they do come back. Anybody wish to speak on this application? Then hearing none, I'm going to close. Yeah, thank you. Anybody online? Oh, okay, thank you. Then hearing no and seeing no further comments, I'm going to close this session of the public hearing. Again, we'll keep the public hearing open, but we'll advertise for when the next date is, since we don't have a commitment from them as to when they might have adequately addressed our responses. Obviously, if they go beyond the expiration date, then the application essentially it doesn't exactly get denied, but it just goes away if they don't do it in a timely fashion. So any questions, comments? And hearing none, I'm going to close the session. This session of the public hearing for special use permit application number 2022-051 East Henrietta Apartments. Finally, we have a public hearing for the proposed local law to amend the Henrietta Town Code to address setbacks for lot lines internal to shopping plazas. So a lot of shopping plazas have these out parcels. They are typically what you see in a shopping plaza, it's a restaurant. So like one of the most recent examples, BJ's Restaurant acquired the out parcel that used to be the Macaroni Grill. The way they've always treated them is they treated all of the boundaries as side setbacks from a setback requirement, but that wasn't actually ever encoded in our town code. We also have the situation that sometimes the shopping plaza, a major tenant will come in and they'll want to actually own their building instead of leasing it. And so they'll carve out a portion for that. And so that creates can create issues of I have a building front and oh, by the way, it's right up against that lot line that is from the other developer or the other retailer, creating lot line issues. So what this proposed local law says is it allows all those interior lot lines to be considered side setbacks, which can mean 5 feet, or if there's a demising wall, it can actually be 0 feet. A fire demising wall, basically it's a wall that can withstand so many hours of a fire. And they do work. There was an instance where there was a fire at I want to say it was a townhouse or apartment that was like that. The unit burned out. The 2 units on either side were just fine. So anyway, the one thing we did add in there is the only place I was concerned is, so for these out parcels where they're isolated in the middle of a parking lot, there's not an issue with there being up close to another building. But depending on how this stuff lays out, I wouldn't want it to be a scenario where someone builds a building and someone else puts another building right in front and blocks their front entrance. So whereas it treats all the property boundaries as the side lots, for the front and back of the building, it does require a minimum clearance to the next building or a minimum setback from a major road. So again, you can't, that would be an outside. What you can't do is, so normally within a major parcel, I have let's say a 30-foot setback from the road or 60-foot setback from the road. I can't create a out parcel within there and say, well, now I only need a 5-foot setback. We basically tried to close loopholes that we'll say over ambitious developers might try to exploit. So we tried to close those up front. Any questions, comments on this? Anything from the board? Anything from the public? Then hearing or seeing no comment, I'm going to close the public hearing for the proposed local law to amend the Henrietta Town Code to address setbacks for lot lines internal to shopping plazas. That concludes our public hearings. Can I get my first resolution?
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 4-86, 2023 to authorize bills payable and any associated contracts or agreements for February 10th, 2023 through today, February 22nd, 2023.
Second.
So I had asked to the clerks to modify the resolution to just put right on there what the two big expenditures, if you see, there was one manual check run for over 15 million and there's another one for over $1 million. It's not the town spending a ton of money. It's the amount we owe the fire district about 15 million and change, and the ambulance, I think that was about 800
Yeah.
change,
Yeah.
800,000 and change. So I had them put right on there that that's what those two big checks were for, just so, because I didn't want a bunch of people seeing the thing and calling in and why are you spending $16 million? So
It's not that we owe them, we collect the taxes for them.
yeah. Well, we still have to pry them out of our finance director's hands, but
And I want to say also that as I was going through the bills this week, it is always remarkable to look at some of the line item things, the amount that we send on road salt. And I will tell you, as I was driving here away at 1 o'clock and the town trucks were already out and salting and doing a fantastic job of keeping our roads up. I just want to commend everybody that's in that process of keeping this town safe and allowing us to travel today.
yeah, they've been out, like I said, first morning, they got out into the subs and they're still out pounding today. According to the weather, I figured this might come up, so I actually checked in with our commissioner, our superintendent of highways prior to coming in here. And just get an update. Looking at the forecast, the precipitation is supposed to tail off, so hopefully they'll be able to be done around 9:30. Go home and get some rest. And then if the precipitation starts back up or if any accumulation still exists, they'll come back out and hit again. You know, one of the things I will note for all drivers, if you're not aware of this, salt only works if it's activated, and that's typically heat activated, which can be from the motors of the vehicles or from the friction caused by the tires going over there. So like, even though they salt the turn lanes, if you might notice when you pull in, and this happened to me, I pulled into a turn lane. My wife gets the Highlander. I in the winter drive a Prius, the Prius, and it's not known for its traction. Although that I will say the anti-lock brakes do a pretty good job, but it was tough slowing down in that center turn, even though it was plenty salted. That crystalline ice just makes it slippery. So, you know, anytime we have conditions like this, even with them out there hammering the roads, if the salt isn't activated, it's not going to melt the road. So that's why you can typically see which lanes you have more traffic, because those are the lanes that are fully melting. So. Any other questions, comments? I realize that doesn't have much to do with the bills payable, but just following up on Joe's comment. Any questions or comments on the bills payable? Then hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor, fellow town board members, I have resolution 4-87, 2023 to approve additional scope of services of the Newtown Court Architecture Contract. Seconded.
So the town is doing the site plan work. So we did not have that originally in the scope of work for the architect, and we still did the site plan, but we realized we needed somebody to do the electrical plan for all the lights outside the building itself. So we're reusing 6 of the light poles from the old library, but they're being relocated relative to the new town court, as well as we're putting in connections for electric vehicle charging stations. So we needed the architect to do the electrical site plan for those works. So that's what this is adjusting. Any questions? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have resolution number 4-88, 2023 to call for a public hearing for proposed local law to update Town Code Chapter 79 dogs.
Second.
So our current chapter, basically the only people who can enforce the chapter are an animal control officer and Monroe County Sheriffs. That's problematic because we're looking at adding a dog control officer, as well as we are also in the process of exploring with 5 other municipalities the concept of sharing those dog control services and operating a kennel. And at the same time, there's also been discussions with Lollipop Farm as to whether they would get into the essentially the I don't know what you want to call it, the business of handling strays in other areas outside where they're currently located. So we wanted to make sure that our code allows any of those individuals to handle it. The dog control and licensing, that's all through Ag and Markets. Animal control officer is actually through health code. So in talking with the town attorney, we made it just stick to the Ag and Markets law, which is dog control officer. If we ever add an animal control officer in the future, we will also name them dog control officer, and therefore they can enforce this chapter. Again, that's all per Ag and Market law. In Ag and Market law, they basically say your animal control officer can act as your dog control officer. So it's just getting the town code to match what's happening both in Ag and Market law, as well as what's actually happening here in the town. Any questions? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor, I have resolution number 4-89/2023 to use a town for all as a tagline for the town of Henrietta.
Second. So I can see our diversity chairman, Steve Lovey, in the audience. This was discussion at the diversity committee. They talked about, wanting to celebrate the broad and diverse cultures within our town. In talking with the school district, there are 36 first languages spoken in Henrietta. These are, and that's just for families who have a student in the Rush Henrietta Central School District. There may be additionals. So we have a lot of cultures, as I throw out the trivia, although the reporter knew it today because he's been around a bunch. The number one language as a first language after English isn't Spanish like a lot of people think it is. It's Nepali. I think Spanish is 3rd or 4th down the list. We have again, this very diverse culture, and the diversity committee wanted to look at some way to kind of capture that and reflect it. And as the town did not have a tagline like many other towns do, they proposed this one, and we discussed it at the workshop. And the sentiment last night was that this seemed to capture our town well. So the idea would be to add it to our welcome signs and other appropriate places. We'll have to figure out exactly how to work that in, but like I said, I appreciate the work that the diversity committee has been doing in this regards, as well as the work they're doing in terms of helping plan and roll out some multicultural events and looking at ways that we can make sure the events that we already have in place don't essentially exclude folks, as well as what we can do to help make it easier for, especially for people, new Americans who might not be used to our culture, can understand how we're doing stuff. So there are some efforts within the town. And again, some folks on the diversity committee are helping work on those. We're creating welcome packets for when folks move to town, especially from a culture that isn't similar to what I'll say is English common law, our culture. It helps explain stuff because, like I said, you don't necessarily realize, we just take things for granted because we grew up in this culture. We understand how things happen. Someone's transplanted here from a very different culture. They may not understand all that. So, and they're working on taking those packets and translating them into the, I don't remember how many is 6 to 10 of those native languages. So did I see that Steve might know what that number was? So Steve informed me that we're translating into the top 6 languages. Any questions, comments?
I just want to say that as somebody who got a chance to obviously not only grow up in this town, but also to work in our public schools for the last 25 years and see the evolution of how this community has developed. I'm proud that we're getting a chance to do this. I think there's a lot of synergy between what we're talking about right now, the diversity committee, and also this has been an important part of what the youth board has been talking about for the last year also, just this idea of being as welcoming and inclusive as we possibly can. And I think it's a great public statement for our town.
Yeah, I will note that the youth board has played a large part as well in that development of that welcome packet. Any others?
I just want to second what Joe said. It's one of the things Millie and I were talking, or Councilmember Safranik and I were talking about earlier, is the diversity in this community and how amazing it is, to grow up in this community, to watch other children, my children grow up and my grandchild. It's just so interesting. You can learn so much about so many different people, and the world is just not you, it's everybody else. So it's amazing to live in this town and experience that.
Yeah, I just want to thank again to the work that the committees have been putting into this. The diversity committee put a lot of thought and energy into making this change. But I know also the youth committee has put a lot of thought into helping to create a more welcoming environment. And also the school district. I know that there's been a lot of work within the school district to work with the town and to work with new Americans coming into the town to make this a very warm and welcoming town.
Anybody wish to comment from the public? And hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
All right. One moment. My tablet, of course, had chosen this time to do a
Do an update.
update, so I'm almost there, Rick. Thank you, though. Fellow board members, I have resolution 4-90, 2023 to call for a public hearing regarding the establishment of extension number 172 to the Henrietta Water District number 1 for properties on Middle Road.
Seconded.
So if you'll recall, at a previous meeting, we pulled 3 properties out of, I think it was 109.
Yeah, 109.
And because that improvement had never been done as part of that water district, 172. This is a new water main that's going down Middle Road. It's being partially funded essentially by funds from the ARPA. When they first came out with ARPA, there was a portion that was revenue recovery and the rest was for infrastructure. We assigned a bunch to infrastructure. Subsequent to that, they increased the amount that you could count in the revenue recovery funds. We're actually going to probably spend all of the ARPA money on the court for a couple reasons. One, we know that those expenses are going to occur soon, and therefore we won't have to worry about the ARPA funds expiring. Two, it'll be the amount of paperwork associated with using those funds is significant. So to have to be able to do it on just a single project is beneficial for the staff. But then what we will do is the money that was otherwise going to come from the general fund for the court will use essentially to backfill the ARPA money that was originally going to be spent on this project. So the net is the same to the project. It's just, like I said, it'll be a lot simpler to use all of our ARPA funds in one location. So, okay. One thing I'll note, we sent petitions out to the residents. As of yesterday, we had received about 60% response. You actually need greater than 50% response, the positive response, I should say. You need a 50% to call for the public hearing. So
Supervisor, I do actually believe there's some residents here that want to speak on this issue tonight.
sure. Any other comments from the town board? And anyone from the public? Come on up.
I'm David Payne. I'm the father of one of the residents, and I was just curious on the cost that might be predicted for hooking up the various services. Is there going to be a contractor that will help the residents to do this? Or is this up to them just to find somebody at the time of the construction of the water main?
Sure. So it's ultimately up to you. However, what we typically do for these type of projects, we will make the name and contact information for the developer who is doing the work available to you, because quite often, since they're already deployed, they've already in the trench, they're already doing the work. You can also often find that it'll be cheaper for you to work with them than to work with a third party, but there's no such requirement to do so. I can't tell you how much it's going to cost. There's so many variables involved in that. Where's your well currently located? Is there a convenient place to come in with the water main? So there's so many things involved in that. But basically what typically happens, the water main installation will be to essentially the edge of the right of way. There'll be a shut-off valve there. Now that portion of the lateral only gets installed if you sign up for the service while they're putting in the water main. We'd love to put the stubs in there for everybody, but the Monroe County Water Authority doesn't allow that. If there isn't someone who's imminently going to connect, they don't allow us to put the stubs in. So
how and when do you sign up for this? When the construction's going on, they'll receive a letter saying to do that?
Yeah, there'll be a bunch of additional information. Chris Martin, are you on? Do you want to add?
I am. This is Chris Martin, Director of Engineering and Planning. And yes, the Monroe County Water Authority is going to be sending notices out. They should have gone out already, but maybe it'll be the next week or two. Telling you what you have to do to sign up for service and all that.
Okay. Is it possible if you can do your own excavation to do that, to save money and then put in your own pipe? Is that allowed, Chris?
Well, that's more of a question for the Monroe County Water Authority, Dave, but the reality is I think you know, they'll make the tap for you. And I think if you run the tubing from, you know, from there to your house, I think you do need a licensed plumber though to make the connections. But I think other than that, if you want to go ahead and dig the trench or, you know, dig the trench or have the trench dug, and then, you know, just have somebody put the service in, which could be, doesn't have to be copper. It could be a PE 3408. But as long as it's acceptable to the water authority, I don't see any reason why, but I would certainly verify that with them, Dave.
Okay, thanks, Chris. It sounds good. And the developer that's doing the project, and you're going to make that available to the residents, probably via letter. And if they want to contact them, they can do it through that.
Yeah, we can send something out. It's going to be Nardozzi Paving and Construction. But yeah, we can send all those contact information, or just give me an email, Dave, and I can share it with you.
Okay, and as a side note, the sewer system that was put in on the other side privately, are they going to put T's in that so that it could be connected to that as part of the springtime construction?
Yeah, so as part of that project, Dave, even though it wasn't a town-sponsored project, it will be dedicated to the town. We had the developer put in Ys at certain locations so that when the main does get dedicated, that the residents can connect into that. Now, in your case, and in most of the people over there, you're on the other side of the road. So, you know, whether, you know, your contractor would have to bore under the road, or, you know, would the county allow you to open cut prior to starting work? You know, that's really up to your contractor.
Right, Chris, well, that sounds then that the time that would be available would be after the county paving project and so forth. So it would
I
probably,
would actually look at doing it before, because that might.
right,
be
that would be
better.
better.
Yeah,
But,
agreed.
but I'm not sure they'll be ready for it at that point. Will it be dedicated to the town by that point?
I mean, probably not. I mean, they still have to put the pump station in, and well, because if your system is gravity, then it could be. But I know the force main portion, you know, that's probably not going to be ready till late summer.
So if you're- Right, so if the force main takes it from down where the development's gonna be up to the crest of the hill. And from
Yeah.
there, it's gravity downward.
Okay, so we'll wait to hear from everybody.
Yeah,
Thank you
so
very
again,
much.
if you want to, what we'll do is when we have that information available, we'll probably send something out. When it's time that people can connect, we'll probably send a letter out to all the residents to let them know
Regarding the sewer?
regarding the sewer as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
All right, good. So good. Thank you very much. I know we've been fighting for water there for years and years and years, and this is great. It's coming to fruition.
Thanks,
Maybe
Dave.
maybe other people have questions. Thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you. You have questions coming up?
Hi, I'm in favor of the water and,
You please state your name. Sorry.
Rod Redmond,
Okay, thank you.
476 Middle Road.
Yep.
Okay, I'm in favor of the water, very strongly. And you said 50% have responded and 50% haven't?
60%. It doesn't, I don't know that we've gotten any no's. I think it's just 40% of the people haven't given us their answer yet. But to my now, again, this was as of yesterday, we had 60% positive response.
Oh, 60%.
Yeah,
So there's the majority that, and that's
Correct.
what you need.
that's what
Okay.
we need. Yep.
All right, I was just ready to
Yeah.
knock on doors or
Yeah.
do whatever necessary to get it over. Okay, I guess that's all I've got to say.
Sounds
Thanks
good.
for doing that, what's really needed.
Thank you. Anyone else? And hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow town board members, I have resolution 4-91, 2023 to accept the dedication of roadways for Howlett Acres subdivision, section 2.
Second.
So for these, this and the next one, we've been working with developers to get their roads dedicated, so they have to finish all their punch list items, get all the work done for the roads. And that way then they can be included as part of the town's salt and or snow and ice removal. So. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor, fellow town board members, I have resolution 4-92, 2023 to accept the dedication of roadways for Howlett Acres subdivision section 3.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have resolution number 4-93, 2023 to adopt IT policies for backup and recovery and disaster recovery.
Second.
I'd just like to thank Andrew Stewart and his team for putting these policies in place. It's a lot of work to document all this stuff and get everything together. And I know we've got a third one, even larger one coming on cybersecurity. So thank you again for all the work. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor, I have, and fellow board members, I have resolution number 4-94/2023 to call for a public hearing to consider designating Chapman's Corner Park at 5694 West Henrietta Road as a historic site.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have resolution 4-95, 2023. Whereas Henrietta Public Library Friends and Foundation, Inc. has donated $1,088.79 to the Henrietta Public Library for the acquisition of a book display unit. And whereas a check in the amount of $1,088.79 was received by the library director. Therefore, be it resolved that the Henrietta Town Board acknowledges this donation and thanks Henrietta Public Library Friends and Foundation Inc. for their generosity.
Seconded.
Comments?
Just always thank you so much to the Friends and Foundation. They have really done so much for the library and for the town of Henrietta, and are always so committed and dedicated to the work they do.
I agree.
Just tangentially related, we are in the process of creating a essentially Friends and Foundation for town parks and facilities. We have a couple people who are interested in being on that board. I'm also going to be putting this out in the town newsletter. But if anybody else is interested in being on that board, essentially we'd be creating a nonprofit organization similar to the Henrietta Public Library Friends and Foundation. Please reach out to me at supervisor@henrietta.org, and I'll put you in touch with the individual who's helping organizing that. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 4-96, 2023 to authorize and or ratify the following agreements executed between February 9th, 2023 and February 22nd, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor, fellow town board members, I have resolution 4-97, 2023 to hire personnel and make the attached changes.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have resolution number 4-98, 2023 to issue a negative declaration and adopt local law number 3 of 2023 to amend the Henrietta Town Code to address setbacks for lot lines internal to shopping plazas.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. That concludes our resolutions. Considering they've all cleared out, it does not look like we're gonna have any discussion items or comments from the public. Any committee or miscellaneous reports from the board?
Sure, I'll start if that's okay.
Sure.
I attended the CHS ambulance meeting recently, and I wanted to put on record to announce that they're offering a free training. It's not American Heart Association certified, but it's really interesting. It's a combination of 3 topics. It's free. It could be for Boy Scouts. It could be for churches. It could be for anybody in the community. And it involves training, takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and it involves stop the bleeding, AED, and Narcan, all in case of a emergency that you could deal with. And I wanted to make sure that that was on record. Might be a good thing to put in Henrietta Happenings as well. I did go to the Henrietta Volunteer Fire Department Company #1 annual banquet at Locust Hill. And that was a very nice event. They give out their awards, hours of service, and the town board member that attends also swears in the new officers for the following year. I just wanted to let people know the Community Health and Safety Coalition is in the process of becoming its own 501c3, which will allow us to apply for and to administrate $125,000 a year grant for a total of 5 years. And I've also encouraged them with some of the future things that we could do that maybe participate a little bit in helping with the constable model for the town. And then I went to the Fire District's Board of Directors meeting, and that's it for me. Anybody else?
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, sure. I got a chance to attend the youth board meeting last week, and they've obviously made their selections for the Youth Hall of Fame. We put the program together in terms of who's going to have the different speaking responsibilities at the event. I know that the informational packets have gone out. The list will be made public after we come out of the February break. I've already had a couple of students at school kind of come up to me and say, "Hey, what does this mean?" I'll tell you in a couple of weeks what this actually means. But congratulations to the board, Jesse, and all the great job that he does running that. The members of the board, Anita, who pulls everything together. Just a fantastic moment that we're looking forward to in April.
That's it? Wow, that was quick, Joe. Okay, the library. If you haven't had an opportunity to, there is the K-3 art show at the library right now. Stop in and see it, see all of our talented young people and all of their artwork. Also, the library board has openings for 2 board members. So if you would like to serve on the library board, please reach out to Adrian, or you can go on the website and let them know that you're interested in that. And then also at our library meeting last week, we had a presentation of the Velma K. Moore Award from the Library Trustees Association of New York State. And Tina Thompson was awarded this award. She has been on the library board since 1983. It's amazing. And because of the award, Tina was given a check for $1,500 that she's able to donate to the library of her choice. Of course, we know which library that is. So congratulations, Tina. Tina's just amazing. She gives so much to this community, to the library, to the historical site committee, she's our town historian. It was awesome to see her get this award.
So, just a couple notes, my reign as, president of the Monroe County Supervisors Association came to an end in December. And they essentially presented the association is going to make a donation on my behalf. So I'm going to have them put that towards the Martin Luther King scholarship. Got what its official name is. Something Hope. So they'll be putting that in, and it's a warning if you're ever involved in any of these type of organizations where it's, the Council of Supervisors, don't miss a meeting because that's typically how you get nominated. And then last but not least, Chris Martin wanted me to mention that it is Engineers Week.
Congratulations, Chris. Thank you for everything you do. You are appreciated.
And don't forget my my humble colleague, Craig Eckert as well.
And Craig.
Thank you all.
Well, there's a whole lot of engineers over in that
Say
department.
You get to.
Yeah.
I think there should be a cake on Friday, but I'm just.
Supervisor?
Well,
Not anymore.
not anymore. So that's it.
That's it.
Anything else? I'm hearing none. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I think Rick just beat you out. Hearing no objection.